Hello friends. Before we begin, let me introduce myself first. My name is Sangam Sir. I have had my schooling from Sainik School Tilaya. I've done my graduation from IIT Kharagpur. I worked for a year at Tata Steel and after that I resigned, and since then I am into the civil service preparation. I've had 2 attempts at the main examination with sociology as my optional subject. Now today at IndianCivils.com I'll be acquainting you with this particular facet of the examination. That is, why should one take sociology as an optional subject, and how at IndianCivils.com we will be a prudent platform for you to have your training in the sociology optional subject. Now you see, before we begin, we need to be acquainted about the examination process itself. The preliminary examination, leave that be aside, because the optional subject is not a part of the preliminary examination. So it is the main examination where the optional subject comes into picture. Now to look at the structure of the main examination, the entire main examination consists of 2 particular parts. First part is the general studies, and the second part is the optional subject plus essay. There are 4 general studies papers here. There are 2 papers consisting of the optional subject. There is 1 paper for essay, and there are also language papers. There are 2 language papers as well. In the language papers, English is a compulsory language paper, and then you have a choice of any other Indian language paper that you can write in the medium in which you choose to. Now let's leave this paper because these 2 are considered as optional papers. The papers which are actually matter to you are the 4 general studies papers. Then there are 2 papers for the optional subjects, and then there is 1 essay paper. All of these papers consist of 250 marks. The general studies paper here is compulsory for everybody. Everybody has got a certain set of questions that everybody needs to answer. But it is this optional subject where the UPSC gives you a choice. There are a certain set of subjects from which we can choose that which of the subjects we can have as an optional subject. My topic of talk today here is that why should one consider sociology as an optional subject? You see, there are different subjects that UPSC offers. For example, anthropology, physics, mathematics, geology, botany, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, etc., etc. I personally, when I began my preparation for civil services examination, like most of us here, I was also not trained in any of the humanities disciplines that most of the general studies paper, the essay paper, and the optional subject paper asks. So the dilemma that I also had in the beginning of my preparation was, what should be my optional subject? The subject that I studied for graduation was not offered as an optional subject. So like most of us we do, I asked my peers, I asked my seniors, and I landed up at sociology as an optional subject for my civil services. Now there were certain things that influenced my own decision at the time of beginning my preparation, that why should I choose sociology as an optional subject. Since I'm still in the process of preparation, I think I'll be able to convey it to you or acquaint you with the facets that one needs to consider while choosing sociology as an optional subject, and why you should choose this one only as an optional subject. Now the first and foremost thing that I liked about the discipline was, we all grow up in a society. All of us are born in a society. We don't have a choice. Society existed before we were born. It exists as far as we are here, and it will also exist as after we are gone. Now, for example, you see, all of us are born in a family. Family is a social institution. Marriage is a social institution. Education, these are functions that society does for us. So sociology as a subject need not any special knowledge or prior understanding of the disciplines, because all of us are actually, we all keep seeing things around us in the society. Now what does a society consist of? Try to look around yourself and find. You see, we all are individuals. So the basic unit of a society is an individual. You don't have any problem in understanding that once individuals come together, so many individuals begin to form groups, and different kinds of groups then begins to form institutions. Now very many kind of institutions then finally forms the society. So anybody who decides to take sociology as an optional subject knows that he or she has been an individual in the social setting since childhood. He or she has been part of different social groups, be it your peer group, be it your siblings, be it your classmates, etc., etc. Now you see, once there are so many social groups, these social groups begin to form institutions. Now what is an institution? Family is an institution, school is an institution, college is an institution, marriage is an institution, and so on and so forth. Now all these things together, starting from the fundamental unit of the society, that is an individual, you find that once you backtrack, you will realize that all these things you have been doing in your life since you were born. It was in your subconsciousness. There are some manners in which you were asked to behave in a family. Depending on your geographical location, there was particular kind of clothes that you were wearing. So it all formed a part of your cultural also. So all those institutions keep on getting accumulated inside your consciousness right from the time we begin to live in a society. So the first and foremost thing that I liked about the discipline was I already had a prior understanding of what I was going to study. This is the first part. Now the second part that I want to tell you, if you look at sociology, sociology is defined as the general study. It is not a specific study like philosophy or political science, or for that matter mathematics or electrical engineering. Sociology is the general study of social life, group interactions, and human behavior. So the point that I'm trying to emphasize upon is that it is a general study. You don't have to be specific about it. Now, if you would recall, in the beginning of my explanation, I told you that there are 4 general studies paper as well once we write the examination. Sociology as a subject, if you look at it, the very multifaceted topics that we come up in sociology will give you a general understanding of whatever is happening in the society. For example, if you look at paper 1 of the general studies paper, there is history. If you read Indian sociology in paper 2, you will get to know about the history of India as well. The second part there is geography. If you look at the cultural settings and different ways in which societies are constituted in different parts of India or different parts of the world, you will also get to know about the aspects of human geography that is required in paper 1 as well. Then comes culture. You will get to know what are the social factors that influence the culture of a particular society. You come to know about that. Then you come to paper 2. You have constitution, you have governance, and in paper 1 as well, you will be introduced to political theory, you will be introduced to political sociology. In paper 2, you will be introduced to politics and society. You will be introduced to aspects such as religion. And there is also environmental sociology that will tell you about how social factors and how do humans perceive environment, how should we perceive environment, and so on and so forth. So in that sense, sociology also tries to cover the different aspects of the general studies syllabus in a very holistic manner. Because once we look at the syllabus of the sociology discipline, there are 10 topics in paper 1, there are 14 topics in paper 2. The 10 topics in paper 1 are more or less, you'll find that they are mutually exclusive. And in those particular topics, you'll find topics such as the emergence of sociology, then topics such as marriage, kinship, topics such as social stratification, topics such as religion in society, politics in society, social change. all these topics in a different manner cover the various aspects of the other topics of the syllabus that we are supposed to study in the process of preparation of this examination. That was the second part. Now the third part that I want to tell you is the importance of sociology in one of the papers that at times becomes the make and break for the selection of an individual. That is the essay paper. Now the essay paper, usually we are in the current form, we are given 2 sections which consist of 4 topics each, and in all these topics you'll find that is in these 4 topics you'll have at least 2 or 3 topics every year that comes from sociology background. For example, last year there was an essay topic that poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Now once we begin to study poverty, if economics begins to look at poverty, economics will look at poverty only from the categorization of calorific value that an individual consumes. For example, that Tendulkar committee report that there is a certain line and below which everybody is poor and above which everybody is a non-poor. Now once you begin to look at all these things from the perspective of sociology, you will also try to understand that no, poverty is not just caused by economic factors. There are so many other things that causes poverty. And for example, the level of education, the access to social rewards, for example, the caste of an individual. Everybody since childhood, caste is a very essential feature of the Indian society. All of us have witnessed this phenomenon in one way or the another. Now to understand that caste can also be a cause of poverty, that cannot be taken from the perspective of economics, because that only gives you a number that there are these many poor in India, these many calories they take, and that's why they are called poor. Sociology as a discipline begins to give you the different ways and aspects of understanding a particular topic. That is the third part. The fourth part that I try to emphasize is that sociology also tries to give you a quantitative and qualitative understanding of things. Now, what do I mean by here? Please don't get bogged down by that. Why am I taking examples from economics? Because it just happened that during the course of preparation, I just took economy as a particular thing. You look at economy. The quantitative aspects of economy and the qualitative aspects is that suppose there is a smoker in society. Now, economics always looks at from the perspective that a cigarette packet will be sold for 20 rupees and the process of manufacturing of that cigarette has to come at 18 rupees. So every cigarette packet which is sold will bear a profit of 2 rupees for every person who is selling. It was sociology as a discipline that told economics that once somebody smokes, there are other factors also that influences his life chances and the life conditions that somebody is going to be. Those were called as externalities. So it is this qualitative aspect of understanding of a particular topic that sociology tries to influence your understanding, which no other discipline gives, because most of the other disciplines that you will choose in the process of preparation are very specialized disciplines. And one another thing I would like to tell you, that like me, most of us are already from non-humanities background. In sociology, the topics are designed such that you will find that they are in as much exclusive as much they are connected with each other. And also, sorry, the syllabus is designed in a manner in which there are very many facets of interconnectedness between one topic and the other topic. There are also theories which you'll read in paper 1, which describes exclusively about the sociological thought. In all those understandings of sociological thought, it is the general understanding that a human being has got in the process of living that one has to study. So there are not, you won't find so many technical keywords and stuff like that. Obviously, once you begin to write an answer sociologically, you will need to know that what are the keywords and phrases that were used by the scholars of that time to explain a particular topic. But even after that, the general understanding of the discipline is such that you won't need to be like, you don't need to be scared that I don't know, I am from an engineering background, I've studied mechanical engineering, but I don't want mechanical engineering for my syllabus, for my this. So can sociology be a better option? You begin to study it, it will definitely be a better thing, because most of us, as we are from engineering or non-humanities background, so the ability that we have gathered in those years to connect the dots and to think logically, these are the only two things that I found essential to study this discipline. If you can have a logical thinking, and if you can connect the various dots that are established around yourself while addressing a topic, these are the two ingredients that are required to excel at this optional at this optional subject in the examination. The fifth point that I'm trying to make is sociology as an optional subject. The paper one part is extremely theoretical part. In that particular part, there is like very little scope for our own understanding. Obviously, of late the questions have come in a manner that they also compel us to think sociologically. In this process of preparation of sociology discipline, the essence that one should also consider for, and that I also personally considered, is how to have a sociological thinking. Now, what I mean by sociological thinking, if you recall, I tried to explain you in the first slide itself, this particular part. So it is only you know that what constitutes a society. So once at any point of time, if you feel that I have got a new question and I'm not able to answer it, so the basic of that particular question has to be the same. It has to be like, you take it from the individual, that particular question will influence the social groups which are there in the society, and that particular question has also to be answered from the institutions that constitute a society. If you keep all these things in mind, and you have a basic structure of what am I supposed to do with the knowledge that I have got, so even if the question like bouncers or other stuff which you have not studied, that can be tackled very easily. Given all this background, there are certain things also which are required, which are like true for every other optional subject as well. Like we need to be thorough with the study materials that have to be provided. We need to write tests. Writing practice is utmost necessary even for any optional subject that you take. Even if you have mathematics optional subject, they say as much as you solve, as much as you learn. So the same practice goes with sociology as well. The third thing is that you need to be thorough with the all the parts of the syllabus, and also be updated on the current happenings that are happening in a social setting, because sociology as a subject has begun to add dimensions to its exam syllabus. For example, this time there was a question on, do you think demonetization has led to economic growth, and how far is it responsible for feminization of labor and the other things aspect. Once I was attempting this question, it was obviously a new question for me. There are only a very limited sources of committees and reports that have come which have analyzed the actual impact of demonetization on the economic growth of the society, on the economic growth of India. But once they ask you a question like that in sociology paper, the only thing that they try to test you is your sociological imagination. How do you think in a society, if you look at as an individual and place yourself at the center, what are the things that you have seen? And you can write that, because the nature of the questions also in such questions, the UPSC, what they have begun to do is they ask you, what do you think? Do you think that demonetization has led to economic growth? Questions like, what do you understand by LGBTQ? What are the issues relating to their marriage rights? Like, these are things, even if you have not studied in particularity, or even if they don't form a part of your already textual knowledge that you have gathered from here, but since this discipline is so generalized in nature, you can always have an answer in the context of the question that is asked, and in the limited time frame of the examination that we are supposed to answer that question. Now, this was the part that I wanted to tell you, that why sociology you think is an optional subject, or it's a prudent optional subject for this. The last part that I'm trying to tell you, that you look at the questions. Once I was studying sociology, the only thing that my teacher used to tell me, that in sociology, no two person can write the same answer. So what happens is, every copy or every notebook that the person is checking, barring certain theoretical aspects of the discipline, there are different facets to any particular question that you are given. There are 8 questions in the paper. Out of that, there are 2 questions which are compulsory. They are short note questions, and out of 8, we have to choose 5. 2 of them are compulsory, and the rest 3 questions, there is a choice. In that particular choice also, people can choose different questions. But the point that I am trying to emphasize is, the discipline is so generalistic in nature that different people will always have different understandings and different ways to perceive and conceive a particular thing. For example, this time UPSC asked a question called, how do you understand the minority question? You see, here also UPSC is asking you this only. How do you understand the minority question? The topic that is there in the syllabus says religious minorities and problems associated with religious minorities. But once they ask you in the paper, they ask you, tell me, how do you conceive a question like that? This particular question can be answered from so many perspectives. You can say that the Constitution of India recognizes 2 kinds of minorities, religious minorities and linguistic minorities, because the understanding of minority that you have got has to be from the constitutional framework itself. So what I am trying to tell you, that with such questions, UPSC is also trying to say or ask you that the different parts of the general studies syllabus can also be very easily applied in the answering of the sociology questions, particularly the paper 2 part, where there are so many questions from which you already have a knowledge in the general studies across the syllabus of the general studies. All these papers, whatever knowledge you gather, that can be easily and very distinctly used to answer the questions in general studies paper 2. So you see, there is a very beautiful connectivity between sociology as an optional subject and also the rest of the syllabus of the UPSC exam, and how it influences sociology. First, I told you how sociology influences the other subjects, and now you see, with such kind of questions, you can easily imagine how other parts of our syllabus are having an influence on sociology as a discipline and on our prospects of scoring a good marks in the discipline itself. Having answered all those things, one more thing that I would like to tell you is there's the ethics paper as well, paper 4. In sociology, you will be introduced to so many thinkers, and it is not just thinkers, it is sociological thought. Now, in earlier times, what happened was, knowledge was not categorized in the domain of arts, science, or stuff like that. There were philosophers, there were people who used to study ethics, morality, geography, psychology, and stuff like that. All these thinkers that you will be introduced in sociology will have a particular thought line, and all those thought lines also shape the way in which we began to think, and we address the issues of morality, address the issues of ethics, and how should humans behave in a particular social setting. What is ethics? Ethics only tells you that in a particular social setting or in a particular institutional setting, the ways and means in which we are expected to conduct ourselves, the right ways to do certain things. So once you study society, society will also have criminals. Society will also have deviants. Deviants are the ones who do not conform to the norms and structures of the society. And ethically also, it is these deviants which we see that they are the immoral people. So what I am trying to convey is that even in paper 4, the sociological thinkers and the sociological thought and the understanding of how humans behave in a society will give you a very good insight in writing the answers of the ethics paper as well. Now, we have covered here till here what is the nature of the examination. How do you think sociology as an optional subject can be a beneficial part in scoring good marks in the optional subjects, in optional subject? Third, how sociology influences the all other parts of our syllabus or the main examination, how all other parts of the examination influence sociology as a discipline, and how sociology also has a bearing on the essay paper. This is the holistic approach that I thought and that I as an aspirant took, and a prudent decision to choose sociology as an optional subject for my preparation. The second part that I would like to tell you is what have I got to offer you, or what have we at IndianCivils.com got to offer you in the process of preparation. The first and foremost thing that I would like to tell you, that like most of you, I am also not from a humanities background. So the way I have perceived this discipline, or the way the hard work that I have put in this discipline, has been from a perspective from a person, somebody who had no prior knowledge in this discipline itself. So I'll be able to convey you that how somebody who has no prior understanding in the discipline can approach the discipline. First thing. The second thing is I have my own prepared notes for this particular thing. In the 3.5 years of my preparation process, I have made extensive notes relating to every topic, and that will be given and that will be conveyed. I'll also be telling you how to make your own notes and how to make sure that each topic is taken up in a comprehensive manner. For example, what I did while making my notes for this exam was I went through the past 15 years question paper. Now, once you look at the past 15 years question paper, sociology being a humanities background subject, most of the questions you'll find that they are repeated in one manner or the other. Now, once the questions get repeated in one manner or the other, it is only at that particular point where we can get an edge. In general studies, the questions will be different every year. The current issues change. The ways in which those current issues influence the static portion, they also keep changing. But sociology has certain questions which will be asked. Like Karl Marx's theory of historical materialism is not going to change. It was the same 50 years ago, it will be the same 50 years from now. But there are ways and means in which UPSC presents those historical materialism questions to you. I have tried to make my notes in accordance with that whether these questions are asked as 15 markers, whether these questions are asked as 10 markers, how often are these asked as short notes, and how often are these asked as long answer questions. All that knowledge, or whatever I have gathered, I'll be trying to convey it to you in my best possible ability. The third thing that I wanted to tell you, that practicing previous year's question papers was a thing that I followed consistently in my process of preparation. Writing a question daily from previous 15 years. That exercise will be conducting day in and day out in every class. I'll be giving you a question. You can come back with the answers, and then we can discuss that particular question the very next day. The fourth thing that I wanted to tell you, that you see, sociology as such is not mathematics or physics that we'll be having doubts. Yes, obviously there will be certain concepts which will be somewhat twisted to understand, or because there are terms like, for example, social system, social structure. These are terms whose actual meaning has to be known, because we cannot go on with a commonsensical understanding of the society. Common sense and sociology are two different things. Once sociology came up as a discipline, it tried to alleviate the notions of common sense from human understanding and try to formulate a particular path for itself on how to study humans. So obviously there will be certain terms and concepts whose meaning we have to be familiar with, and in our process of preparation or our process of learning, we'll be familiar with those terms and topics. The fifth thing that I want to tell you is that the answer writing part. What I would advise as an aspirant and as a fellow acquaintance for all of you is that we need to be very familiar with the answer writing part, and very like able to finish the paper in time, able to write an answer in the stipulated time frame that we are allotted. Because other disciplines, or the disciplines which are very objective in nature, they have questions to solve. But sociology being a subjective discipline in its entirety, you will need to write answers, and there will be theoretical answers. So that practice also has to be done. We will try to give you some test series or some assignments in the course of our classes, which you can write, we can come back and we can discuss, and we can also have some corrections of the notebooks or answers that you will submit. The last part that I wanted to tell you is I am also still preparing. So in that particular sense, we will have a very friendly discussion here of the subject and whatever I have understood of the discipline. With this, I wish you all the best.